Hi, I'm David Gerber, founder and CEO of Sober at Home, where we believe in your capacity to change. But if change is going to happen, sobriety has got to be a priority. Today's workbook exercise focuses on the positives and negatives of staying the same versus the positives and negatives of actually making a change. You enter a program like Sober at Home because you know your use is a problem. But it doesn't mean that there haven't been positive aspects of your use as well. If there weren't positive aspects of your use, then it would be easy to change and you wouldn't need a program like us. This exercise helps you to do a values clarification exercise, to actually identify the positives associated with use as well as the negatives associated with use, and then taking a second look at the positives of making a change in terms of getting sober. And yes, there are negatives associated with getting sober. When we think about the positives associated with use, a lot of people struggle with this and they think, of course, there are no positives associated with use. But did it help you cope with feelings of depression and anxiety? Did it help you to socialize, or did it help you find comfort in isolation? Think hard. What are some of the positives associated with your use? And then take a look at the negatives as well. How much money has it cost you? Has it cost you relationships? Has it cost you jobs? Have you missed out on opportunities as a result of your use? Then take a look at the other side. What if you actually made the change? What if you actually got sober? What then? Are there positives associated with quitting? I sure hope so. A lot of times we think some of the positives associated with quitting happen to go along with the negatives associated with staying the same and maintaining that lifestyle of use. The things that we suffer with now have a way of turning around when we start to quit using. We reduce the likelihood of legal jeopardy. We improve family relationships. But are there negatives associated with actually quitting alcohol and drugs? Of course there are. Again, it would be easy to quit if there weren't negatives associated with quitting. And because you've been using alcohol and drugs as a coping mechanism, it has worked for you for a long time. You're here today because it doesn't work for you the same way it used to. It's when we write the balance and we can use these scales that we can really take a look at whether making that change makes sense to us. Ultimately, if we decide to go back to using, what we're saying is the positives associated with use and the negatives associated with quitting are more important to me than any of the negatives associated with use and the positives associated with quitting. Let me say that again. If we ultimately go back to use, what we're saying is that the positives associated with our use and the negatives associated with quitting are more important to us than the negatives of using and the positives that sobriety has to offer. On the other hand, if we choose to quit and we choose to stay quit, then what we're saying is that we value the negatives associated with our use and we value the positives associated with getting sober and staying sober. We'll see you next time for the next workbook exercise with Sober at Home.